the way that I write music, even when it's for other people, is so personal. So it's like there was always a part of me that was writing like for myself and expressing, and everything was my style. Like I was making stuff that was really authentic to myself, but I really wasn't pursuing the artist thing until I was just like 6 years in of writing, and I had written with like some of the biggest artists, and I was like so broke and like so like, what am I doing with my life? I chose the wrong path in life. Like I need to rethink my whole existence. And I was kind of just having a real like identity crisis in general about like what I was doing with my life. I couldn't even like afford gas to get to sessions, but I was like,
right. Well, thank you so much, Delacey, for doing this. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, no, thank you.
My name's Adam, and this is about you, your journey in music, and we'll talk about the new album, which is awesome. I've been listening to it all day.
Oh, thank you. That's so sweet.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy you have the vinyl up on your website.
Yeah, I do. I'm so excited. It's my first vinyl ever.
That's awesome. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna yeah, you have the autograph version. I'll have to splurge for that one.
Honestly, I was supposed to take that down like after 50 copies, and it's
is it still the one or no?
Yeah, I mean, it
Okay.
says that, so I have to keep doing it because I've had fans be like, it's still going to be the autograph version, right? And I'm like, oh no, I'm going to have like carpal tunnel, like doing all these.
Sorry, I'm going to make you sign one more.
I need to change that like right away, but yes.
I need to wait like 10 minutes after the call to change it.
No, I'll give you one either way.
Well, I appreciate your time. I did see you're from San Juan Capistrano, is that right? And
wow.
Yeah, I'm from San Diego, so I thought that was
Wow, no one ever from super south, I feel like.
Right, I know. Yeah. And I saw that, I'm like, the only thing I remember about San Juan Capistrano is there's the Mission there.
Yeah, the Swallows, the Mission.
Yeah, it's like the thing that I think of every time I hear San Juan Capistrano. So that's awesome. Well, tell me about that growing up there.
I don't know. I mean, Orange County is a funny place because it's like it's such a little bubble, I feel like, but it's really just so down to earth and like mellow and beach vibes. Like I grew up as such a beach girl. Like I feel like a lot of people don't get that from me right off the bat, which is funny. But yeah, I'm a total Orange County girl, honestly. And I wish I could still live there. After I like couldn't wait to leave. And then I left. And I'm like, I really wish I could go back. Live there. Yeah.
Are you in LA now or in New York?
Yeah.
LA. Okay.
Where about you? Are you in San Diego or?
No, I about 2 years ago moved to Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay, cool.
Which I love.
Nashville. Yeah.
It's amazing here, but I mean, I grew up in San Diego and did radio in San Diego, and then a little bit about 5 years in San Francisco and back to San Diego, but now I'm in Nashville and I love it here. But yeah, Southern California.
Yeah, Nashville's awesome. That's like another place that I am always tempted to move to.
You should. It's beautiful here. And it's cheaper. And there's no tax.
Which is like it's still really expensive nowadays, but it's like
it definitely
it's still cheaper though than
we got in like right as it was like about to explode and price everybody out.
Lucky,
so I got very lucky.
I have such regrets that I didn't like do that in time.
But you're in LA, which will never change.
Which will never, it's always the worst time ever. I mean, it appreciates, but it's always the worst time ever.
Right. Well, okay. So Sam, you said you went to the beach quite a bit. Did you surf or just have friends that did that? Because I grew up in San Diego and I didn't surf. I skateboarded.
No, I mean, I'm not like a surfer, but I can surf a little. I used to do it more often, but I wouldn't say I'm like a surfer. I'm not like good at it. I can like stand up on it and like do it, but
which is better than a majority of people.
Fair. Yeah. That's fair.
That's cool. So you come from a fairly musical household, correct? Your dad's a drummer?
I mean, my dad did like play the drums when he was like a kid and stuff, and he was really good at it, but he didn't stick with it.
Okay. I was in the impression he played.
But I feel like either way, it's like we're a musical household because like my sister is also like an amazing singer. Like, but other than that, it was just like my dad's passion for music that like kind of made us a musical household, if we're gonna be called that. Like he was obsessed with it and like, always like educated us on all of the greats and like I had his vinyl collection when I was a kid, and that made me musical, I feel like. But
Yeah.
other than that, like, I don't have any like family members that were singers or did music as a path in life. So it was kind of, it was scary for everyone in my family when I did it.
I bet. Yeah. I mean, but I'm sure your dad was super excited that,
Yeah, no, my
being a
parents were,
music, yeah, being
yeah,
way into music, obviously, and drumming,
totally.
and now his daughter's writing
Yeah,
massive hit
he
songs.
totally geeks out about all of it. But like they've always been really supportive of me,
That's
even
cool.
if they were
When
like didn't understand it.
and when did you started playing, is piano the first instrument you learned?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you
Yeah.
young when you did that?
Yeah, I guess I was like, I feel like every kid took an instrument, like we were all forced. I don't know if it's like that anymore, but like I feel like my generation, everyone was like had to do some sort of instrument, had to do this, had to do a sport. But I really loved playing the piano. So I stuck with it. And I mean then I played guitar and I was in dance, tons of performing art things. But yeah, I started with piano when I was like really little. I think I was like 5, honestly, 3, 5, I don't know.
Oh, wow. And
Yeah, I
you
was really young.
continued with it?
Yeah, but I'm like, I mean, I wouldn't say continue with it, and like I don't know my music theory at all anymore, if I ever did, and I can't read sheet music, so
But you could play the
I
piano, I'm sure.
I mean, I veered off and just like wrote songs on the piano, but like
Right.
my music theory sucks, which I hate. I like tried to relearn it during the pandemic. That didn't happen.
Oh, really? Do you
Yeah.
because I've interviewed a lot of artists that can't read sheet music or
Yeah.
don't know music theory, and it's like, it's almost like they can open like a different part of their brain and
Yeah.
play chords and stuff that maybe
Yeah.
you wouldn't have thought
And
of if
like
you were.
no 100%, and like honestly, I always like end up doing modulations and like in my choruses and stuff, and it's totally just because I don't know anything about music. It's not on purpose. So I know I would lose a little bit of that, but also I just I wish I wish I knew it. I wish I knew it better. I'm
Okay.
like, whatever. We always want what we
Um,
can have.
sure. You started playing guitar as well at a fairly early age, or when did you pick up guitar?
Yeah, I basically am self-taught at that, which is why I'm not that good at that either. I'm only good at it for like writing music, but but I love the guitar. That's my favorite instrument to play. Yeah, I was like a teenager when I started playing guitar, like 15.
Okay. And when did you start writing songs? Was that early as well?
That was so early, yeah, but I mean they weren't good by any means, but I
You got to
was
start
like,
somewhere.
yeah, totally. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I was like 6 when I wrote my first song. I was
Wow.
into just like writing piano like scores. Like I thought I was gonna be a, f- a famous movie composer.
Okay.
Didn't happen, but
And then when you started writing like lyrics and everything else, were you like in high school or anything, or did you kind of try to pursue a career as like an artist, or were you in a band or anything like that?
yeah, I mean, I grew up in musical theater. That was like I was such a musical theater girl. And I was on the dance team, and I was writing poetry and trying to write a novel. And I was like super into videography and like trying to direct movies with my friends. I don't know. I was kind of all over the place creatively,
Uh-huh.
but one thing I was always doing was like performing and creating. But I don't know. I didn't grow up like with any idea of how to like get there. I didn't have any connection or anything. So I think it didn't become really real to me until, you know, there was like a certain point when I got kicked out of high school, so I didn't go to college, but I went to college. I went to New York instead of college, like just to go get away. I like picked up
Uh-huh.
everything and moved there. And I feel like that was like a turning point for me because I was writing a lot of music, and it just kind of clicked for me that that's what I wanted to pursue, and I was gonna like do anything to figure it out. I always knew I wanted to do something in the arts,
Uh-huh.
I had an agent at one point, I was acting, but I really like I knew I had to give one of the things 100%, if I was gonna really go for it,
Yeah.
and I chose music.
Wow. And so
Yeah.
you said at 18 you got up and moved all the way to New York. I mean, that's clear across the whole entire country.
Guess so, yeah.
That must have been a big move, obviously. Like, did you just go to New York because you knew that there was like a scene there? I would
No, there's
just
no
because LA is like so much, LA is
yeah,
right
no.
there. You
I
think,
know, and there's no music scene in New York anymore, sadly, I wish, but
oh, okay.
I think it was more I wanted to, like I didn't know what I was gonna do with my life, and I was kind of feeling lost, I think, at that point,
Mhm.
and my best friend was like, "I got this internship out in New York, like, you should just come with me for a little bit." Like, I love New York City, it's always been, like, just a dream place for me to live. I don't know, probably because I lived in Orange County and I just, like, wanted something, you
Totally
know,
different.
different. Yeah, like, I wanted the city, I wanted things happening, the energy, and I'd been before, like, growing up, but yeah, I don't know, I was really poor, I couldn't afford it, but I went anyways, and and I was kinda it was kinda just a ballsy, like, spontaneous, "I'm young, who cares?" move, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but when you were there, it sounds like that was what kind of, launched your career, right? I mean, being there
I
and writing
guess. I
there.
I don't know. I guess because I was, like, so depressed that I wrote so much music. But I didn't, like, get my start there necessarily. I wrote a lot of important music, though, there throughout my honestly, my whole music career. But that was, like yeah, that was, like, the start of it, I guess.
Okay, so you were there, you wrote a bunch of songs, and then what? Do you move back to LA?
Yeah. I moved back to
Okay.
LA because I realized if I wanna do music, I really have to live in Los Angeles. So I came all the way back. But yeah, I mean, at that point, I was just like, recording demos at like random studios that would let me do it for free and like having friends help me and my friend musicians play with me. And, one of my best friends was like managing me at the time. And he like had an internship once at a record label. So he like knew a lawyer and then, whatever. It was a very
Yeah.
like cute amateur way of like trying to get our foot in the door. But it's all about like stepping stones, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, to because you kind of started off as a songwriter, right? I mean, as far as your career went, it
Yeah. I mean, I actually, it was like the deal I signed when I found this kind of smaller label was they discovered me and like kind of swooped me up before when I was kind of naive and didn't know any better.
uh-huh.
It's kind of a shitty deal, but like
Well,
that's
that
kind of
happens. I mean, people get
that's
taken
how like I
advantage
feel like
of,
most
right?
people. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, I
or
had
they
no
don't
idea.
know, and it's like, "Oh, I'm
Yeah, I
gonna
had no
sign
idea.
this deal. I'm gonna be,
Oh my
this is
God.
what,
Yeah, they gave me a
this."
check for $10,000 and I was like, I'm rich. What?
Right.
Like I was like, and they are gonna make me all my dreams come true. I had no connection before that, so it was like, it was really exciting, and I have no regrets though because it really did like lead to, everybody's path is different, but that's mine, and I'm okay with it. But it was like actually an artist deal, and it was a
Oh,
record deal
okay.
slash publishing deal. It was very chaotic. Yeah. Um, they were really mean to me there too, honestly.
Sorry. But you got signed on as an artist, and then how did so were you pursuing an artist project alongside the publishing thing? Because I know with the publishing, it's more of a songwriter-esque, right? You're
Oh yeah,
writing
it
or
totally is.
pitching to people.
Honestly, I really just spent so much time songwriting. I didn't even know if I wanted to be an artist anymore. I kind of was like, I knew I grew up performing, but after I had like really been I'd really like entered the industry and like made friends with a lot of artists. I really wasn't sure that I would be happy doing that. It seemed like I would be much more happy just like getting to be creative all the time and write
Mhm.
music, and like be in the studio all the time, which I was for like 6 years straight. I was literally just in the studio like till this from sun up till sundown. And I really just threw myself into songwriting. I really did. And I pretty much thought I was gonna just do that like for forever.
Yeah. And then at what point did you decide I want to get back into doing kind of my own project, or were you always kind of doing it
No,
on the side, or no?
I really wasn't doing it at all, honestly, which is so funny because I mean, the way that I write music, even when it's for other people, is so personal. So it's like there was always a part of me that was writing like for myself and expressing, and everything was my style. Like I was making stuff that was really authentic to myself. But I really wasn't pursuing the artist thing until I was just like 6 years in of writing, and I had written with like some of the biggest artists, and I was like so broke and like so like, what am I doing with my life? I chose the wrong path in life. Like I need to rethink my whole existence. And I was kind of just having a real like identity crisis in general about like what I was doing with my life. I couldn't even like afford gas to get to sessions, but I was like, it
Writing
was
the
just,
biggest
it was,
songs on the planet. I
no,
mean,
they weren't big songs, that's the thing. It's
okay.
like, it's really hard to make money as a songwriter. Like it's really hard. And a lot of people don't see that on the outside, but it's like, you have to have like radio hits to make money. It's really hard. I mean, there's other avenues and there's sync and stuff, but for me personally, I was in a place where everything I was doing, even though it would get me some cool cred, it was making me $0 and I was extremely broke. I mean, I signed to my publishers now, like, after I got out of that shitty publishing deal, I signed to Universal, and they're like my family, and they're fucking amazing. And they've always like taken care of me. But it's like at a certain point, I was just like, am I just never gonna get to where I think I'm gonna go? Like, how much time am I gonna work at this? And I just decided I needed to just make music that I wanted to listen to. And I couldn't think about like who it was going to be for anymore. I didn't know if it was going to be for me, but I just knew I had to make like a project of like an anti-pop project, I think, kind of like the music I grew up listening to. And I just like called up one of my oldest collaborators. He's my like, he's been he's literally my longest collaboration partner ever, but I've been writing with him since day one. And I called him, and he always was like, when you want to do an artist project, you better call me. Like, if you ever want to do it, come on. And he was always trying to push me to do it. And I called him, and I was just like, listen, I don't know what I'm doing with my life, but like, want to go make something. I don't know if it's gonna be a record. Maybe we'll make one song. I don't know. And I went to New York because he's in New York, and he has a studio in Brooklyn. And I literally, I was living in a little apartment in Chinatown with my last dollar to my name. And I made what is like became my debut album, Black Coffee. And I guess it just like happened, like, which is what I always said is the only way I would do an artist's career path. Like if it just like, if I needed to do it, and I did, like there came a point when I just like, it happened. Like I needed it. I was ready. I guess it's like, I finally had what I needed to say, like what I felt was worth saying. Yeah. And I mean, I'm so proud of that album. It's like,
it's
so
an
important to me.
amazing album.
Thank you. So I don't know. I guess that's how it happened. I mean, there had been so many times when, I was getting offered record deals from different labels. Like, you should sing this demo. Like, why don't I just sign you and we put this song out? Like, that happened to me so often, and it just never felt right until I made that album.
Wow. Yeah, and it's interesting because of the songs that you've written and the artists that you worked with, that you would, because you put that album out in 2019, right? Or 2020? Oh, I think you froze.
Yeah, 2019.
You froze. Are you there?
Yeah, it's saying my internet is unstable, but I have like full internet, so
You're back now.
okay.
Okay. Yeah, I was just saying that, yeah, you put that album out in like 2019, right? And you already, but you had written some massive hits, and it's just, for me, it's interesting that that's kind of how the industry works, as far as like, you could have these radio hits and you're still like, I need to do something. Like, you said you had $1 to your name or whatever,
Well, what's really funny is I didn't have any radio hits until I made that album, and then for some reason everything started happening.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so it was kind of it's a really weird time in my life that just everything shifted for me. It was so weird. It was just like, then, all of a sudden everything I finally was getting through, and it was just like, it was working, it was clicking, and I was in like the best rooms, and yeah, It all
Okay, so it was all around that same time. It was like when
It
you
was all around the
decided.
same time and
Interesting.
completely unrelated, and all happened at the same time. It's hilarious.
Oh my gosh. Okay. And then
Yeah,
so now you have hits on the radio, and you also have your record and your
yeah,
artist project that's also doing really well. Was
yeah,
it was that hard to like juggle then? It's like, okay, now I'm writing a song.
yeah.
Were you writing from the same place? Like, because it sounds like before you were just writing songs that meant something to you, regardless if someone was going to take it or not. And like
100%.
now you're like, okay, but I have this thing going on. Like, was it hard to kind of juggle what you were going to be working towards or where the song was going?
Uh, Not really. I mean, it was hard to juggle the time. Like, uh, my label was putting me on radio tour, and I was like, big artists were like asking to work with me that I'd always wanted to work with, and I was like, it was so hard to juggle. Like, I had to focus on promoting my album and be in filming music videos, and then also making time to go in the studio and write with other artists. That was honestly the biggest struggle, because the way that I write, like, Delacey stuff now, like, ever since that experience really showed me, like, I go away and I kind of just, like, I focus a time and I write for myself, and it's really personal and it's really sonically what I want it to be,
Mhm.
whatever my vision is for that. I don't generally go, into writing sessions with everybody and just want it, and think I'm writing for myself. I like to keep it really focused. I get really overwhelmed if I have like 100 if I had like 100 songs that I don't know which ones to choose for my album. Like, I can't really work like that. So
Mhm.
I do it very controlled and separate. So
Okay.
it's never really confusing when I'm writing. It's
Because you're in a
confusing.
room with other people at
Yeah,
that point.
totally.
Yeah.
Especially if I'm with, um, you know, another artist. That's I'm there to like help tell their story, which I love doing. So it's like, if anything, that was like the hardest thing, was like balancing my two loves, like trying to make
Right.
time for songwriting and having a hard time saying no to either thing. Like, it was pretty chaotic. And then the pandemic happened and I had nothing going on. So it was like, all right.
Well, I was going to ask about that. So when it comes to this, the next album, you were probably what, in the pandemic, or able to
Yeah.
kind of almost not the same way, but seclude yourself to writing this next album?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's funny because the album Black Coffee actually dropped like the week of the first shutdown of the pandemic. Like, it officially released. I had been releasing singles and a lot of it up until that point, but that was like when I released the actual album, it was the week of the first
It was
shutdown.
March of 2020. The album
Yeah.
comes out.
Yep. March.
So when that happens, are you like, okay, shit, now what do I do?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, it sucked. I was gonna go on tour. I had all these plans, It was, I think for a lot of people, it was a lot of like adjusting. Some people it was for the better. Not for me. I had a pretty horrible pandemic. But I will say I did write The Girl Has a Dream. I started The Girl Has a Dream in the pandemic. Once again, it was like a controlled environment. I was trying to do writing sessions over Zoom, which is how kind of all of us were trying to function during the
yeah.
pandemic. I mean, I'm sure
Was
you
that
know, like,
difficult? I mean, that's how this, I mean, I was on the radio forever, and then this became much bigger due to the pandemic,
there
honestly.
we go. Well, see, I'm happy for you that, it's like, it's cool
Yeah.
to hear a positive story, because I mean, of course, like, talking to a person like this it feels natural. It's barely different than like if we were sitting next to each other. But when you're writing a song, it's like, look at all these instruments behind me. I want to get up. I want to play them. I want to look at the wall. I want to lay on the ground. I want us to just be in the room and feel the magic and get the inspiration,
Right.
instead of sit here and stare at each other and be like, okay, now what? And there's a lag, and it's like,
Yeah.
they can't hear what I'm playing because there's a lag and distortion. It was really a horrible way for me personally to make music. I hated it. So I called up Ido, who, the same guy I mentioned earlier,
Mhm.
basically my favorite collaborator. And I called him and I was like, okay, want to do this in person? Because we were also trying to do it on Zoom and we were going crazy and we were fighting a lot. And I was like, do you want to try and get together? We'll take COVID tests. We'll stay in one place so that we know we're safe. Because this was like peak
Yeah,
pandemic,
yeah, very early on.
September 2020. And I got like a cabin in the woods so that it was in upstate New York, so that it was closer to him because he has kids. And we took tests and we met there. We rented a piano. We set up like instruments all over this cabin. We put like, you know, a blanket fort over the microphone. We had drums like up the stairs on the loft that we had to like mic up. But we basically, you know, did the majority of this album within like a month in upstate New York.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was amazing. So once again, that's like kind of my favorite way to make music, is like just going away, controlled in one place, so it feels cohesive and it feels like one moment. I mean, of course, the album has such a longer journey than that because it's like 3 years in the making. But that's how it started, and it was like height of the pandemic, which was
That's how it was recording. So were the song, I mean, 3 years in the making, where the songs started much earlier than that, and you guys knew that, like, oh no, they were started at that
Yeah,
point.
we pretty much
Okay.
wrote and recorded everything there. I mean, I came in with like a few songs that I like was writing by myself, you know, and then we finished them there and like recorded them. But like for the most part, we really wrote a lot of it there. There was like, yeah, there were a couple that we like started on Zoom, and I was like, I can't do this. Like, I'm going insane. So I didn't really get far with anything. But there was like a couple that I started like, yeah, when I was alone and I brought them there. But it was like the majority of it was written and recorded there, besides the stuff that I like continued to write afterwards that made the album.
Okay. And how many songs were that that made it later?
I guess like 3 or 4, like
Oh
maybe
wow.
3 or 4. I can't really remember. Yeah, I think it's like 4 technically. Maybe 3. Whatever. 3 or 4.
But the what's on the album, the recording on the album, is that a lot of that from, did you use that stuff from the cabin, or was that
Yeah.
just demos? Oh
No,
wow.
it's all that. I don't believe in demos. I'm so funny.
That's
I just
awesome.
am like, let's make it sound like I like it, and then it's done. It's good enough. I'm really pretty like messy, and I don't need things to be perfectly timed. I usually use like my second take of my vocal, even though trust me, it's not that good. I usually just I'm fine with the way the guitar is buzzing and making a fucked up sound. And I usually am really attached to the original mix also, which is always a problem when I get into the mixing of stuff. But no, that's all it. I mean, give or take, like we, you know, messed with some of the productions that I like had a different idea with like a year later. But for the most part, that's everything we made there.
Wow. I love that. I love like the grit to albums when
Me
it kind of
too.
has some of that
That's
stuff to it.
Those were my favorite records growing up, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And also it's just like it feels very me. Like I'm very like go with my gut, and I'm like, this is great. It's done. Let's move on. Let's go to another one. Like,
And usually, I mean, I don't know, I just conversations I've had with other artists that were talking about recording during the pandemic, were writing songs, and then maybe they just had some shitty USB mic and they're in the closet singing something, and then here's the demo. Okay, let's go to the studio and record it when it's safe. And then they couldn't get the the same
the
emotion out of
same
the
emotion.
vocal. Yeah, it's like
Totally.
you're
That's
just
my thing too.
re-singing something a million times.
That's exactly it too. Is like when you write it, or at least when I do, I I'm in a place where I was emotionally feeling that way. Like exactly what I was expressing is like, it's never gonna come off more authentic in my vocal performance than the moment I wrote it. So it's like, I've tried to re-record vocals on some of them actually, and it was just a no. It was like, nope.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, you almost, once you've done it a bunch of times, like maybe it becomes more routine, or you're doing the
Oh
same thing,
yeah.
you don't even
You
realize
lose
it.
the emotion. Yeah. It's like you go on autopilot when you're singing it at some point. It's like, I can't do that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fascinating. But that's awesome that you were able to use all of that for the album. And then once you added the other songs, you just did it elsewhere.
Yeah, I did it like
Yeah.
in here, a lot of it.
Oh, no way. So
This is
you
my
do a lot,
studio. Yeah.
you just recorded in there too. That's awesome.
Mhm.
So with the Zoom stuff, I mean, yeah, I can imagine that being very difficult to write. And so at that point, were you just done
Weird.
writing with other people?
No, I mean, I was probably one of the worst songwriters for Zoom. Like, I know so many people who had such big hits like during the pandemic that they wrote during Zoom, and I was like, I think I had like 10 Zoom sessions the whole pandemic. I couldn't do it. It was so hard. So no, it was a pretty like, it was like a pretty dry, like the years after the pandemic, I was like feeling it for a little, like to that initial year of like height COVID.
Mhm.
But it was like, I mean, I barely wrote during that time.
But you got an
Unless
album.
it was like
Your stuff.
people that I saw a lot and like we were safe to get together, I would still write. It was harder, it was much fewer and far between.
Mhm. And like, so the album's done, and like, once because you just released it, right? I mean, not like, yeah, it just came out. So yeah, so it's been done for a while, and so during that time period, have you just been writing for other people, or were you working
Yeah.
on your own stuff again, or?
I honestly haven't been writing for myself. I really need to take a break from it, honestly. Also like releasing an album is so beautiful, but like really draining. And since I had so many songs on the album, I decided to have like a lot of focus tracks and singles. So like the rollout for my album started February. So I've been doing it for like 6 months. And so I'm like really sick of myself and I just don't want to write for myself right now. I'm like, shut up, bitch. I don't want to hear from you right now. I just want to write with other people. I'm having a lot of fun like just writing with other people right now. Like, and I've been doing that, especially because people are writing again. And it's like so exciting to me. Like
That's
finally.
really, yeah. I love the song that you did with Emily Wiseman before that came out, I think before the album, right? Or Manly Man. That's not on the album though.
No, it's not on the album. That was just like a one-off because we wrote it together in Nashville and she's like one of my best friends and we just had to put it out together. That's a special one to us. So
that's such a great song. And I had her
you.
on my podcast like the beginning of the pandemic, like when she put out
Oh,
her album. Yeah,
yeah.
or it was an EP or an album. I can't even remember what it was, but it was like in the beginning of 2020.
Yeah, I think she put out her EP in the beginning of 2020.
Yeah, I think it was EP. Yeah, and I saw that you had that song with her. I was like, oh no way, this is awesome.
Yeah. I mean, she is like one of my best friends.
That's so awesome. Are there other artists are you constantly working with other artists? Or I mean, since you have obviously the credits now that you've
If I'm
written
lucky,
so
I
many
am. I mean,
songs, or do people seek you out, or like are you able to pick and choose?
oh no, I wouldn't say like, it just comes so easily. If I'm lucky enough, I click with somebody and I get to keep writing with them if we have a good thing going. You know, or if I'm lucky enough, I get the opportunity to write for this thing or that thing, or my song gets in front of somebody. But I feel like since I don't know, I feel like I stay humble because I don't feel like it's so easy for me, but I know I'm really lucky. And I'm really grateful for all the people I do get to write with. It's usually somebody I'm a fan of, so it's really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. I
Yeah.
know just the people you've worked with just off your discography. I'm like, damn, like you've written so many big hits. Like, but then I listened to your album
Yes.
itself, and it's like your lyrics are so good. So I was like, oh, it makes sense
Aw,
that
thank you.
you've written for all these other people.
That's so sweet. Thank you.
um,
I am a bottomless pit of lyrics and emotional shit and ideas.
well, yeah, you're great at it. Are you doing anything as far as are you going to do a tour to support the album?
I really hope so. I'm trying to find like either the right fit or figure out like, the right path to do that. But hopefully, that's the plan. I really want to play in front of people live. I have a show upcoming like out here.
Yeah, I saw that you're doing
Tuesday.
one show, right?
Yeah,
With
it's on
Valley
Tuesday.
Boy.
Yeah, he's opening for me.
That's awesome.
But that's Tuesday in LA. So I think that's gonna be like a good like starter for me because it's a full band. I'm so excited. Like the rehearsals have been really fun. So hopefully, there'll be more.
Yeah, well, you weren't able to really do that with the first album because
No,
it
I
was like
wasn't able to
March,
do that
and
at all.
then the
Yeah.
pandemic.
It was so weird. Yeah. It was a weird time. I lost my agent. Like obviously it didn't really matter having an agent because there was nothing to do anyways. But
Right.
yeah.
But well, hopefully you'll be able to tour this album, and almost, I mean, you could play both albums
I know.
realistically. Yeah. So
Hopefully, yeah.
that's incredible. You should come to Nashville and play a show here. You
I
should play.
really want to.
Yeah,
That would be
you and
amazing.
Emily on the same bill, tour
Yeah,
with her.
that would be amazing.
I'm just setting it up right now for you.
You're my new agent? You want to be my agent?
Yeah. I come cheap. I'll only take but yeah, I love the record. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for
thank you.
doing
This
this.
is awesome. Yeah, thank you.
I have one more question for you, and then I'll let you go. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
It's hard. It's so hard to give advice because everybody's journey is different. I guess it's so lame, like every advice you could give, it feels so cliche, but like I feel like the most important advice is just like make music that you want to listen to, not like that you're trying to fit into a playlist, a certain box, a certain person you're comparing yourself to. Just like don't even think about that because there's room for everybody and like your fans will find you and like the stuff. Just make stuff that you like listening to and you want to make. Like I think that's like the best advice I can give.